How we doing? Today is Friday. It's time for another episode of the Hoops Betting Hour, presented by Pickswise and powered by FanDuel. I am your host, the big man on campus. A busy Friday ahead of us here. We got a lot to do, a lot of hoops to get to, a lot of stuff to talk about. We are live here with my co-host, Donnie Wright. Donnie, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Yeah, hey, as they say, another day, another dollar. Exciting times, Jeff. And you're the hoop head like I am once it comes down to March Madness. Some people really, like, if you're like a common fan, like maybe you say, oh, I can't wait for the actual tournament to start. But if you got to be kidding me, for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, some of the best basketball, the most passionate basketball you will see, and a ton of games. I had such a good time, Jeff, all throughout the day from 11 a.m. tip all the way through night, watching some really good college basketball. And I know you did too.
Yeah, you know, this is as we didn't have it last year, a lot of this. It's nice to know that we're going to have a tournament. You know, things are just getting better, Don. I think from a life standpoint for a lot of people. You know, right? You're starting to see maybe there's some getting out of this virus kind of stuff. So yeah, it's nice to have. And I'll tell you what, yesterday wasn't one of my finer days on the show. Texas won, but outside of that, it wasn't a great day. Missouri let me down, so you got to get back on the horse, Donnie, as they say. And there's a lot of basketball. You got basketball today from noon all the way till very late. So we'll get into some recaps. We welcome you in if you're enjoying the show. We thank you. Hopefully, you have your coffee and maybe your breakfast alongside. I don't have any breakfast, but I have coffee here. I'll tell you, Donnie, though, right now, you know what sounds really good? I don't eat this. No, I don't eat this anymore, but some pancakes with syrup would sound
good. Pancakes number one food, number one breakfast food. If you got pancakes anywhere, it's really hard to resist. And I know, Jeff, you got a shore house where you go down, the family is there, you're trying to eat right. You wake up in the morning, mom's in the kitchen knocking out some buttermilk pancakes. It's a tough go, but man,
it's killing me because right now I like French toast as well, like any kind of like
French
like
toast.
Food like
starchy carbs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We welcome you in. If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That's all we ask for here on the show. We want you to make sure you get the best sports betting content going forward here at Pickswise. But Donnie, it's about hoops today. How was your night last night? Did you there was some enjoyable games. That Texas Tech game was fun.
Yeah, right down to the wire last night. I was watching another couple games. I had a lot of interest in that Georgia game. I came up a little bit short on a team total, but I got saved late with Utah State with a late hoop to get their team total 72.5 over to get it to 74. Some interesting doings. And I got to tell you, Jeff, which is the great thing. We talk about FanDuel Sportsbook all the time. A lot of options to get in and win, even halftime numbers. There was a short number on UNC last night versus Virginia Tech, and just watching the game saying, the Tar Heels are going to turn it on sooner or later. That was an easy number. You're talking at the half, minus 1.5 just to win the basketball game when they were only down 3. I think it was 35-32 at the half. They easily won the second half, but a lot of good stuff to go over, Jeff. So why don't we keep it in the ACC and talk about those Duke Blue Devils? Now, I'm going to set the table for you on this one. And everybody knows Duke is out. But Jeff and I go way back here with Krzyzewski and Duke. You saw the writing on the wall where maybe Coach K was at practice going, this team I have isn't actually very good. So since the team wasn't very good and in a pandemic, he said, you know what? Let me turn this into a positive for myself and my school. Look, I have so many national championships, but I don't think we should be playing this year. And me and you joke about when we hear that comment way back in December going, it doesn't sound like Duke and Coach K, really are on the ball with this because nobody else. Gonzaga's not saying this. No. Gonzaga had a positive test early on, Jeff. You know what they did? Took the kid out, played the game that same day because they know what they have here. So let's fast forward now to Duke, who the NCAA, Jeff, actually said you can use contact tracing. If you have a positive test, go through the protocols. If you have to remove 1 player, 2 player, 3, or do that, but you may continue. Duke had a positive test and said, no thank you to contact tracing. We're going home.
Yeah, this is grade A Mike Krzyzewski, man. This is what he's about. He'll try to spin it that it's about the player's safety and all that stuff. But if they had a 1 seed going into the NCAA tournament, you better believe. And we said this the other day. If Zion Williamson was on this team and RJ Barrett and that group, it wouldn't matter who has coronavirus. It would be swept under the rug and they'd keep playing. Let's stop with the whole holier than thou act with Mike Krzyzewski that he's this, humanitarian and he cares about his players. Look, all due respect, we know that's not true. It just seemed like all season. Remember back to the Gardner-Webb stuff, Donnie, when he said we're not playing any more non-conference games. It was clear from the beginning Mike Krzyzewski had zero interest in playing a season this year. And look at the team. Not enough was said, Donnie, about Jalen Johnson leaving that program. Maybe it was because of him, but maybe it was because of Coach Krzyzewski. Why did anyone bring that up? Maybe Coach it just can't, wrangle the kids in like he used to. And we see what happens, Donnie, when he doesn't have talent. He is an average coach. I've said that for a long time. He doesn't have a speedball anymore. And I don't know if he ever did. He just gets the best players. That's pretty simple. It's easy when you get Grant Hill and Christian Laettner and all these different great players over the years. At the end of the day, the guy's lost his fastball. This team isn't any good, and good riddance.
Yeah, we'll see how they rebound next year,
Donnie. It's too bad for the kids because Coach made the decision, not them.
Yeah, no, and again, it's funny because there's two trains of thoughts. Either you like UNC or you're like Duke. I can't stand the Tar Heels. I actually don't mind Duke, but I call spade a spade. When we see stuff happen and we see it go down, because I think Coach K is a very good coach. But you're not going to get one by me this year when you don't have a very good team and you play the high and mighty card. Like we shouldn't be out here. And, because they're going up against Florida State. They have to basically win the ACC tournament. Yeah. He's like, you know what, I'm out. So then you know what he says again to you? Hey, we could have made a nice run, but I did the right thing and the safe thing, which you didn't because the CDC and the NCAA came together and said, we're going to use professional protocols so you can still advance in the tournament. And he's like, this team stinks. Maybe he doesn't even like the team or even want to be around this team. No, he's like, we're out of here.
That's what I think it is. Again, there's no argument you can make. If this was a 1 or a 2 seed going into the NCAA tournament, if they were Gonzaga and they had no
Zion, if you have Zion there, he's going there. He's saying we have to press through. It's a big time. We're going to show the nation how strong we are. We're doing the protocols. We're showing you can get out there and work. That would be his attitude if he had that team, Jeff.
Yeah, it's weak. It's really weak. It's and it made me think, Donnie, yesterday of like all these conference tournaments are going on. And they're going and they're figuring everything out. If you're like the Ivy League, do you look back and say, why did they cancel? Does anybody know? No. Remember they canceled the entire league? Like, why'd they do that?
Yeah. You know what the best part about that is too with the Ivy League? Because they're supposed to be the smartest men in the room. And obviously you can see by the SAT scores, it's very hard to get a Ivy League school. They have billion upon billion upon $1 billion endowments. So you're telling me they couldn't have got the kids tested every day. They couldn't have better protocols than everybody. We're not talking about a MEAC school, Jeff, who you always harp on saying they got to go on the road 15 games just so they can have a basketball season. That's not the case with Princeton.
Yale has one of the biggest endowments in the country.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They couldn't have protected themselves. And also, Jeff, it's not like Yale has 32,000 fans coming every day and they just don't know what to do with it. Stop.
Just don't have fans. Not a lot of teams don't have fans.
I know.
There's absolutely no reason you can't. No. And Donnie, it's not like the Ivy League. Every school's within like an hour or two to each other. I feel like.
I know.
What is the Ivy League doing? Why did they play this year? I don't get that.
I don't know. Like maybe last year you wanted to be safe. I understand, but the fact that it didn't come back this year, it's just like, dude, everybody is playing now. It's certainly doable.
It's just one of those. We're just trying to be smarter than everyone, even though we're not that smarter than everyone. Yep. Good stuff. Yeah, the Duke stuff is comical. Want to tell everybody, we know there are a lot of people that are watching live, but if you're watching on the repeat, welcome in. Thanks for joining us here. We got a lot to do. We got a lot of games to get to, which we're going to get to in just a couple of minutes. We always like to do a little recap, though. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching it at a later time. But we have a lot of good people in here. If you got some games you want us to talk about, just hit them in the chat box. We'll make sure we get to them. What else we have in the recap, Donnie? A lot of good games last night.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. Obviously on the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and FanDuel Sports. You guys know me and Jeff love hot topics, and we like to get off a couple shots here. There was another one. On the court, very nice win by the Georgetown Hoyas and Patrick Ewing. Villanova is in a downward spiral, but you still have to beat them. They're still well coached. They still have players out there on the court. And quite frankly, Villanova still should have won that basketball game, but just folded up. But we're not talking about Georgetown on the court. We're not talking about the Hoyas advancing in the Big East. We're talking about their head coach big timing an entire arena who probably has, Jeff, in a pandemic, people just trying to make ends meet. And I want to preface this by saying, if anybody didn't see yesterday with Patrick, and it's not even a big deal, but to me, it always strikes a chord. Patrick Ewing was upset. He couldn't walk the entire Madison Square Garden and go wherever he wanted and not get asked, sir, can I see some ID before you go into this secure area? Because he's Patrick Ewing. And keep in mind, Patrick Ewing hasn't played basketball at the Garden since 1999, 2000.
Wait a second. So you have an issue with what he said?
I have an absolute, because here's the issue I have
with it. Patrick Ewing. His name's in the rafters.
Hold on. Understand.
In the building, Donnie.
Understand, but 25, 30-year-old kids who are working security back there, just trying to get a paycheck, have no idea who Patrick Ewing is with a mask on. No idea.
Let me explain. First of all, there's no one in the building but the teams and a couple of people.
Correct.
Every job you go to like that, you have a team meeting before the games. This is what's going on today.
Not on people that are coming in the building.
Well, you should. Because if you see a guy that's 7 foot tall walking in and out, you should know.
How many 7 foot tallers are in the building in the Big East with masks on?
But you go over this stuff. There's only a certain amount of teams there. It's not like it's a full game day. If it was a game day, I would understand. Like where there's no one there or there's a lot of people there.
Let me make this point, and then we'll go back and forth here. I go back to being an Eagles season ticket holder. I knew exactly the aisle usher. I went through the same line with the same people patting me down for 15 years. The same ticket takers, Jeff. You know what they did? They asked me for my ticket every level I went up and said hello with my name. I went and sit in my seat. They ask me for my tickets when I see the guy every week to show me where my seat actually is. When I go to a liquor store, I know the guy. I'm 43 years old, Jeff. He cards me. You know what I do? I pull up my license, show it to him. If I go to a Wawa or a convenience store, my wife likes to have a cigarette after maybe a bottle of wine. I'm 43. They still ask me for my ID to buy cigarettes. It's just their job. Show your credentials, Patrick, and move on and have fun with it.
No, that's where you're wrong.
Come on.
There's team meetings you should have.
He doesn't even work for the team, though. He's an outsider. And young kids, he's got a mask on. Half of them don't even know who Patrick Ewing even is. I wouldn't know who Bernie Perron is if he came through the door at the first. Hey, Bernie Perron's the greatest goalie ever. He's got a mask on. He's an old man. I don't know who this guy is.
Again, there's no one in the building. Okay, he's clearly on the bench. He's sitting on the bench the entire game. Go over stuff. Say, these are the coaches of these teams. Make sure they don't have any issues here.
Yeah, they don't do you. Yeah, you have. That's why they give you a lanyard with credentials. All you have to do is have it around your neck, and you will never be stopped ever.
I think he had that though.
No, he didn't. He said they were accosting me for which No, here's how it went down. Patrick Ewing went into the Garden, didn't wear anything, and said, "I'm Patrick Ewing. I'll go wherever I want."
If I had
wearing the badge.
If I had season tickets somewhere like you, if I went to a grocery store and got cigarettes every week and they carded me every single time, I would stop going there.
Now, Alex Wanda brings up a good point here. He says he's had season tickets his whole life in the usher. Actually, I don't want to big time anybody here, but in the club box, you can't get anywhere. You can't go out to the general public without getting stamped and have repeated tickets like you have in here. So it might be different, but they asked me every time. I knew everybody there. It didn't matter. I can't just walk around.
Yeah, listen, I don't care what these security guards. You act like they're a Secret Service agent. Look, I'm here. You see me here every week. Get out of my way.
Who? No, I can't. They wouldn't allow that for me. They would never do that. Like, Donnie, wait, you got your ticket so I can scan? Nah, I forgot it in the car. No problem. Head right through. They don't do that. You got to wait there, and they got to make sure it's you.
If you know who I am, you shouldn't. I'm not saying that you shouldn't just let anybody up there, but if you see somebody and you have a relationship, you shouldn't.
That is your job, though. Like if you have, because I worked in a liquor store growing up. It's a fine. And he said, that's my dad buying alcohol. He's 50 years old. You still are required to ask him for ID. It's crazy. Look, I understand both sides of it, but just to be like, I got to walk around here all I want. We're not saying, Patrick, you can't walk around.
He has a jersey in the rafters, dude.
But he's got a suit on and a mask over his face and a 25-year-old kid. He's got to ask him for his ID. Sir, I don't see your lanyard on you. Everybody has a lanyard but you. I'm Patrick Ewing.
You notice that only goes on in the Garden?
ID.
That only goes on in the Garden. They're notorious for that. They do it to Charles Oakley all the time. That is Dolan. That is him.
Well, Oakley was completely wrong in that respect anyway, but that's another story.
That's James Dolan. That is Stone Cold James Dolan. It's weak. You should know who Patrick Ewing is. I don't care who you are. It's like not knowing who Michael Jordan. It's Patrick Ewing in New York. Everybody knows who Patrick Ewing is. No,
they don't. He's been out. If Patrick Ewing retired last year, I would 1,000% agree. If this was a Knicks home game and Ewing was the head coach, maybe I could see. But he's a coach from another organization with kids in the arena who he hasn't played there in over 20 years, and he doesn't have his lanyard on when all they're told is, I will fire you if these security checks aren't taking place.
Again, here's a simple idea, Donnie.
Yeah.
Before the game, you have a certain amount of ushers because you don't need a lot because there's not a lot of people there. For the game, hey, here are all the coaches we have here today. They're all going to be in suits. They're probably going to have something around their neck. They're going to be on the benches. Just
not the benches. I'm talking about like going into the arena and just walking around 2 hours before the game. Like, hey, who's that guy over there in the security offices? Do you know who that is? I don't know. Let me go check his credentials.
Okay. Did they do it to the players? Did they do it to Jay Wright? Why do it to him?
Everybody. You can't walk around an arena without credentials. You, as a player, you have credentials before the game to walk around. You can't just go all over.
Dude, not for nothing. Like when I go to Temple games, I don't think I've ever been asked for anything. You didn't get
through the front gate with a ticket. You're telling me you just walked into a Temple game like that anyway.
I don't think Ewing went through a back entrance. I don't think we're talking about
exactly. Hey, who's that guy coming through the back entrance? Let me go check here.
But he went through the entrance. It's not like he's by himself. He's with the team. What are you?
How do you know he's not? No. How do you know? He made it sound like he was going all over the place. Like they only stopped him. I'm telling you right now. Patrick Ewing was like, this is my home. I'm just going to go walk around before the game wherever I want to go. And somebody said, hey, can I just see your credentials? Oh, don't you know who I am?
Donnie, again, when you've been – okay, but if you've been allowed in special areas and you're in there, you're in there. You're in there for a reason. You were carded one time and you were in. They're the team. You shouldn't need to be every time.
I think you're taking it the wrong way, saying like he got in.
I think
and
you're
then
taking it the wrong way. You're way too worried about Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing said, "This is my house," which
what's
leads
your
me
beef
to believe
with
he thought he could go. I don't have any beef. Like I don't. It doesn't matter one bit. But just having a big time, like, don't you know who I am? And then the jokes come out. Pat never won anything. Hasn't played for 20 years. He's not with the Knicks. Hey, Pat, show some ID and walk around here because everybody else has to.
Though. You think they card Jay Wright?
I have 100%. I think the guard people at the Garden with Jay Wright's mask on, I have no idea who Jay Wright is. Those security guards. No idea.
But I don't understand. Like, do you actually think like most ushers are like older? Like, where do you mean younger? I don't think I've ever seen a young usher.
Security guys, there's probably guys that have never saw Patrick Ewing in real life. And again, I would be different here, Jeff, if Ewing just retired 2 years ago and was still working for the Knicks.
Can we agree that when you're an usher in a basketball stadium? So
yes.
If you're an usher in South Philly at the Wachovia Center or whatever it's called now, you are from Philadelphia, right? You live in the city.
Yeah.
Most likely. I bet most of those people live in South Philly. All those people that work at the Garden work in New York City. They live in New York City. They're from New York City. You get 10 of them. I put money on this. 8 of them know who Patrick Ewing is.
No shot. Zero shot. You ever see those people that walk around with a mic and say, do you know who this guy is? And they have no idea who it is. In Boston, half the people don't even know who Tom Brady is. I don't know who that is.
Dude. He's like, that's like, everybody knows who Spike Lee is. Everybody knows who those people are.
But maybe you don't know who Spike Lee is if he has a mask on his face. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know who that is?
I don't think, like, the mask isn't, you act like it's like a ski mask. You can't see anything. Like, you can see who their hair and stuff. Like, it's Ewing. It's clear. He's gigantic. There's not many 7-footers on the earth, Donnie. It's not like they just walk around.
They walk around a lot in college basketball, so.
I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I think Ewing is you should get it. So let me ask you this, Donnie. Seriously.
Yeah.
One final point on this. We're in Philly. We're at the Wells Fargo Center for the Big Ten tournament. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Allen Iverson's there.
Mm-hmm.
You think one usher in that building is going to card Iverson? Come on, man.
Where is he going?
Let's say he's a coach on the team. He's an assistant or something. With what we know about Iverson, and that if he's with
with the Sixers, then no, he's not. But if
That's
Allen
the
Iverson
difference.
goes for another team, they're not. He's not in house, Jeff.
What if it's
I'm telling you right now.
What if it's a Big Ten tournament?
You know how many people walk around the city of Philadelphia? Claude Giroux could walk by people in Philadelphia, the best Flyers player over the past 20 years, and 9 out of 10 people have no idea who he is.
I'm not saying Claude Giroux.
Seth Curry right now could walk down the street and nobody would know who that guy is. Nobody.
What?
100%.
Like people recognize me on the street, and I'm a nobody. I'm a complete nobody, Donnie.
Now you take it a different way. Just show your credentials and move on. I don't big time people at Wawa when I'm 43 and they think I look 21. Just wear your credentials for a reason, and nobody ever hears about it.
I'm telling you right now, if Iverson's a coach at Penn State, and he walks in a Wells Fargo Center, nobody's carding Iverson.
He's getting carded as soon as he gets through that door. Yes, no, and if he tries to walk in secure areas, they're not letting him through. Plain and simple.
Okay, that's not true, but okay. No, if I'm not carding him, 100%. I know who Allen Iverson is. I don't need to card him. There's no reason.
Yep, and they'll be like Jeff, we love you, but we got to let you go. It's our rule that everybody has to have to get through security. Everybody has to have a.
Well, then I'll go to NBC 10 and
anyway. All right, let's keep it moving here.
You have an issue with Ewing.
No, I don't. I love Patrick. I love Georgetown in the 80s. I have no issue with Ewing, but the people that big time little guys. I can't stand it. Anyway, Oklahoma State, Jeff, stays hot in college.
What are you even talking about? I don't understand.
Jeff, all right, we'll end it here. I make $12 an hour.
Right.
This big guy comes through the door. So, how about this? Mr. Ewing, I know it's you, but it's my job. I have to card you here. Oh, don't you know who I am?
But I don't think he did that, though.
He absolutely did that. He wouldn't have a problem with it. I'm getting accosted for my security badge, which me believes, hey, sir, can I see your security? Don't you know who I am?
I think he was asked multiple times for it, and he was sick of asking.
Because he didn't have his pass anywhere he went. That's why he got asked.
That happened with Dole in New York because, that's what happened.
Nah. Well, it's the Knicks anyway. But Oklahoma State, Jeff, stays hot in the Big 12. Is there any stop in Oklahoma State? Injuries? No injuries. It doesn't matter. Okie State is here to go. That's a nice win over West Virginia, man.
Man, Oklahoma, that was impressive defensively. Did you see the end of that game? I mean, that final
I did see the end of the game. Yes.
It was incredible. They're lucky they didn't have 0.5 seconds because they'd have tied the game, which was a big shot by Neal. But that was really high level defensively. West Virginia really struggled over the final 5 minutes. I will say, if you watch the game, Derek Culver lost defensively. Really ugly stuff for West Virginia this year. They're kind of limping into the tournament. But, very nice defensive effort. I continue to not give Oklahoma State enough credit. Sounds like I need to. Impressive stuff.
No, and it's one of those teams, Jeff, where we talk about in college basketball. Were they even on your radar 3 weeks ago, Oklahoma State?
No.
Now all of a sudden surging into the tournament here. Also, some really good basketball happening late night last night. And I know you talked about this when we're doing some conference futures here. Check out the Nevada Wolfpack, man. Moving on. Colorado State with a nice victory. Utah State with a nice victory. They play some good basketball out there, but Nevada has that extra jump. And there was that quadrant of those 5 teams out there, Jeff, that can win it. They're all advancing and playing really good.
Well, Donnie, last night I had a little bit of Nevada, and they had 51 points at the half. It was incredible offensively. And it was 51-45 at the half. I was a little concerned because they had so many points, but they couldn't get enough stops. But 3-0 this year against Boise. Really impressive effort. Donnie, keep in mind going to the NCAA tournament, if Boise State makes it in, their shot blocker, Kagab, he's their second leading scorer.
Yes.
Yeah, he has a dislocated shoulder. He didn't play last night.
Nope.
Defensively, they were bad without him.
No, and they're not a really good basketball team defensively overall, but he certainly would help out. They have the guns there, but that's, again, a nice win that actually pans out and moves forward. And we always talk about Big Ten, SEC, and all that stuff, but there's some really good basketball played out in the Mountain West. And whoever gets those bids, watch out in the tournament because those teams can make some runs. A lot of senior-laden teams, a lot of big men, a lot of snipers and sharpshooting, and some really clean offense that we can keep an eye out for as we move on here. Now, we are going to start talking about some games here, but before we do that, hey, Jeff and Donnie, talk about college. This is a college basketball show to get you ready to go.
Hold on, Donnie. I want to just quickly talk about that. There's a couple of guys in here that just want, an hour straight of picks. Listen, guys, we have a show. There's a balance of it. We don't have any conference tournaments to talk about, so we're having some fun with some topics. It's a college hoop show. Take it down a notch a little bit. We're going to
Jeff, here's what some people want. Maryland versus Michigan minus 8.5. Jeff, your pick is?
We've been doing shows a long time. I think we know what we're doing here. We'll be fine. Don't worry.
Anyway, so there was some great segue by you, Jeff, because if you're angry at Jeff right now, if you're angry at me for talking Patrick Ewing and going back and forth and having a little rant, you know what, Jeff? I'm a better capper than you are. Start talking about capping. How about this?
Yeah.
The Pickswise Capper Contest is a winner-take-all event that will be taking place throughout the March Madness College Basketball Tournament. 9 experts giving out their best bets each and every day of the tournament. And by the way, me and Jeff are going to give out some best bets today. But once the tournament starts, the big man is on the clock. And you know why he's on the clock? The expert with the most profit at the end of this tournament. $10,000 cash prize. The tournament features John Rothstein, Rashard Phillips, Megan making money from the FanDuel Sportsbooks, and the big man on campus, Jeff Nadu. There is one spot available, and Pickswise is running a contest to give you this remaining spot. And guess what? You people watching out here that get angry, it still could be you. We're not going to hate on that. To enter, head over to the Pickswise Twitter, retweet the contest, and reply with why you want that spot. It's really that simple. There's also a link below in the description. If you're angry, if you're mad, Jeff, I should be doing this show. Well, you got a chance to try to take down the big man on campus.
Yeah. Make sure you get in on that contest. Big money up for grabs here. You got some other people involved as well. Yeah, it'll be a fun contest. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it would be a real mantle thing for me if I were able to win that. I would. If you think I'm arrogant now, if I win that, it's gonna be fun. Hey, Donnie, we got some breaking news here. It looks like you're muted, by the way. Can't hear you.
Let's go. Whoa, that's how important it was, Jeff. I couldn't believe it. I knocked myself out.
Yeah. Go get in that contest. Breaking news, Donnie. Georgia Tech, Virginia is canceled.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so, Virginia's out. Whoa.
I don't know. I'm kind of unaware of what's going on because is
Georgia Tech moves on to the title game. Virginia is out of the tournament.
Man, that's my future pick. I gotta not. Come on, man.
Look at that breaking news information. Hey, Jeff, you guys are on so early. Why? The news is flowing before 10 a.m.
One other thing with this coronavirus stuff. Okay, if someone's positive and the rest of the team is not, why are we not playing games? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand this.
Now, if we look at it from this perspective, because you know me, I like to be conspiracy theorist stuff. Virginia's already punched their ticket. Hey, we might get a little bit of rest here, and they won't hold this against us for seeding purposes. I don't know. It's an odd year, but from this standpoint, this is not what the NCAA was telling its counterparts here to operate under. Negative tests were out of here. That's not what and we don't even know Jeff that he was a player. It could have been a person around the program. We don't know who it actually was, but Virginia is out. That's big news, man.
I mean, I hate to be coy, Donnie, but like it's absolute, like in a Duke situation, like if it were just a virus, it's really incredible that one player getting a virus that in 10 days the kid will be completely fine and nothing will happen. No, I'm not saying the coronavirus isn't bad, but for these kids, not one person has been affected negatively by the coronavirus. It was as a walk-on player that's not even going to play. It's just a shame. I mean, if you're the kid, it's got to be a shame. Virginia will be fine because they're going to the NCAA tournament, but
it's interesting stuff here. 130 people watching now, 17 thumbs up. We do appreciate that as we keep it moving. We're going to talk some games now, but that is big breaking news because we were talking about Virginia, even looking at the card today, because I actually kind of like Jeff Virginia over Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I did number.
Yeah, so another one there off the board, but we did have some listeners that sent in some games to talk about, and as usual, we will do that. It's actually a 4-pack of games that Jeff picked out from people sending it in.
I actually like some of these games as well.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good here. So we got a game at 2, 6, 8, and 9 tonight, so right across the board. And then, as always, Jeff and I are going to go over a couple games we like. Then we're going to open up to the board and hit just about every single game. We got a half hour left in the show, plenty of time to do that. 8-13, 8-14, Jeff, Big Ten action, Ohio State versus Purdue. FanDuel opens this actually as a favorite towards Ohio State at -1, still staying at that -1 level, Jeff. If we look at the FanDuel total here, 142.5 as an opener, now down to 142 even. Who are we liking here between Ohio State and Purdue today?
Yeah, you know, I've liked Purdue a lot. I bet them their last 2 games. I think this is a really good basketball team. They're a team that not a lot of people are giving enough credit to. They're just really balanced, Donnie. They're big. They have good guard play. They defend at a really high level on the perimeter. And this is a tough spot for Ohio State. I mean, they're not playing exactly good basketball going in to the Big Ten tournament. They also have lost twice this year already against Purdue. But there's a little caveat there. Keep in mind, in both games, someone was out for Ohio State in some form or fashion, whether it was E.J. Liddell or Kyle Young. But when you look at Ohio State now, fully healthy. Everybody's back. Even Musa Jallo's back, one of their really good defenders on the wing. So this is a healthy team coming into the game. And, you know, these games where we have teams facing each other for the third time is always tough. But as we saw with like a Nevada last night, sometimes you just have a team's number. And when I look at Ohio State, I think they're really fun to watch offensively. I love Dwayne Washington. Liddell, I think, is an NBA player. I think he'll really benefit if he comes back next year for 1 year. They're a big team, and they can really score in multiple different avenues. But when I look at Purdue, I'm just always really impressed by what they do defensively. Matt Painter always gets the most out of his kids. They're a big, gigantic team, and they had some trouble with Trevion Williams this year. And I was concerned with Williams because over the last 4 games of the regular season, he didn't play particularly well. But what I was impressed by is Purdue was able to win those games, even though Williams didn't play well. They got Edey playing well, and Jaden Ivey played well. Eric Hunter, Donnie, I've heard through the grapevine, he was not selected on the all-defense team. A lot of people were upset about that. I think he's one of the best defenders in the country. He didn't get enough respect. I think he can kind of lock down a little bit on Dwayne Washington. It's hard to beat a team twice, but you know, for the person that asked about this, I want to back teams going into the tournament playing well against teams that aren't playing well. I just think Purdue is better defensively, and I think that's the difference in this game. When I look at Ohio State, I really have issues and wonder about them in the half court. They have shown time and time and time again they're just not very good defensively in the half court, and that was pretty evident yesterday. That was been pretty evident multiple times this year. They allowed a pretty bad Minnesota team to hang around. Minnesota, Donnie, scored 32 points over the final 10 minutes. Not good. I actually lean Purdue in this game. I think they win.
I think a good point you bring up too is we don't give them enough credence. Most people always just look to the offensive end of the spectrum, but you're right. If you're looking at Ohio State, there's 14 teams in the Big Ten, which is kind of funny in itself. But Ohio State is 10th in defensive efficiency, Jeff. They don't turn you over, and they do foul. So if your shots aren't going down on offense, we know Ohio State's offense is better than Purdue's offense. It's clear as day. But we see these defensive teams able to ratchet up in the neutral court. So I think you're on to something here. And to be quite honest, when you try to read lines, right, the common person's going to be like, wait a second, Jeff. -1? That's it?
Yeah. No, I know. That's my thought here, man. I don't think people really kind of understand. Purdue's a good team, man. They're really solid. They're like a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're very balanced. I like the mix of just older kind of upperclassmen and then that young freshman that can get a bucket. Stefanovic hasn't played well either. I think he can get it going. So I like Purdue. I think they're an interesting team, and I think you're dead right. That's a great point by you on the number.
No, it's pretty clearly sticking out there. The good part, that's a 2:00 mid-afternoon game, so it'll be relatively quickly after this show ends. 6 p.m. tonight. Hey, how about this one, Jeff? Just in time. You couldn't have set this up any better. Thank you guys for sending this game in. 8:47, 8:48. The Georgetown Hoyas and the Seton Hall Pirates, Jeff, as we open up here. Looks like 2.5 now to 3.5 showing up as a favorite towards Seton Hall, and over-under sitting at around 141. I do think we get some points in this game. I know you've been a little bit down on Seton Hall, but I honestly think, Jeff, Seton Hall is better than Georgetown is.
I think so too, and you said we could get some points here. One of the things that I kind of thought about when I first saw the number in this game was the total did seem a little low.
Yes.
If you know anything about Georgetown, they can really shoot the ball, man. Yes. One of the better three-point shooting teams in the league. And Donnie, Seton Hall is a disaster against the three-point shot. I mean, they're allowing opponents to shoot 38% on the season. Donnie, one thing that warmed my heart yesterday, and one thing that aided in my Ewing talk.
Yep.
Did you see what Georgetown shot for the free throw line yesterday?
Oh, my goodness. Like when you say you need to cover a line, a team total, or get the win, if you're going to tell me my team is 100% from – I know we're not talking, Jeff, 5 of 5 here.
if you know me, 23 for 23 from the line.
Whoa.
That is impressive.
In the Garden, conference tournament play. Yes.
Look, and they're top 25 free throw shooting team. Yeah. That's impressive, man. I mean, that is how you win basketball games. That's how you advance. Listen, I've seen Seton Hall time and time again. They play close games. I'm not really sure why you would want to lay 3 with them, 2.5, 3. I get they're probably a better team, but here's 2 things about Hall that I know. They're really good offensively. They always find a way. They can make shots against a bad 3-point defense. They're good from the line. And, Donnie, I worry a little bit about Mamukelashvili. In one game this year against Seton Hall or against Georgetown, only had 2 points. Yeah. They're a big team with Wahab and Jamario Pickett. They're a big team, long and athletic. I think that Ewing can throw some bigs at them. They're not a team I really want to get in front of. I think Seton Hall kind of found a way yesterday in overtime, but as usual, they made it difficult. I think this is another close game for Seton Hall. I wouldn't feel real good about laying 2.5, 3 in a game like this. If I had to play it, which I'm not, I would lean Georgetown.
Now, see, here's what we're missing out here, too, at the Garden. The Big East tournament is rocking in Madison Square Garden. It's been there a long time. Now, it's not the old Big East with the, Syracuses of the world and how they used to meet up and do, way back in the day.
And this game would be good tonight.
Yep. You would have a packed house there for this one. And if you're a Seton Hall fan, which all you have to do is cross the bridge and go over, Georgetown's relatively close here in the Northeast. How many people in the stands, Jeff, would be yelling at Patrick Ewing? The Seton Hall fans would have giant, lanyards around their neck. We miss that so much, just the fan enterprise of making it fun for us, and we don't have it. We miss out.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, we've been to that tournament. It's a cool tournament. And now that you have Villanova out, it's really anybody's game. People are viewing it and saying, we can win this thing, So, yeah, it's sad. But, hey, Donnie, let me ask you, do you think Ewing is more likely to have his ID now, or he's definitely not going to have it now?
I think Patrick Ewing is the type of guy that says, I let it be known yesterday who I am, and I'm walking through this door today without my lanyard.
Yeah, he's not wearing that lanyard no more.
People like to test those boundaries all the time. Yeah. So when he let it be known yesterday, and Nick said, hey, it's Patrick Ewing. My guess is around the Garden today, they're like, hey, look, man, Patrick comes through here. Let's just get in and out of this tournament. Let's not have any more headlines here where that's the story we're talking about here. So I do agree with you.
I will say, though, I'm a gigantic fan of him as a coach. I think he's really good. And I think the fact that Georgetown's relevant just because of where they've been, they had a lot of issues last year with players doing things off the court and stuff. So I'm impressed with what Georgetown's been able to do.
Yeah, inner city school in Washington, D.C., obviously. They had the huge heritage. It's hard to keep up that mantle because people are going to say, well, you got to get back to those. You have to move on from eras and just accept what you are. Will Georgetown ever win another national title, Jeff? Probably not, just because it's a really good school. It's tough to get into. It's inner city. It's the same thing on a lower level. We talk about Temple. Temple's probably not ever going to get back to the 1980s where they were a top 5 program. It's an inner city school. It's tougher to recruit there and stuff like that. You have to accept what it is, where Georgetown can be an upper level Big East program. And that's as good as you can't say, well, we want national championships,
And that's the thing. Guys like John Thompson and John Chaney were bending rules. They were, they were helping kids get into programs to help, bring those kids in. And, it's just hard to recruit now with some of the, Villanovas and then, kids want to go there instead or go down to the beach and play in Miami or something. So, yeah, it's good.
I do like schools, Jeff, that reach back. And what I mean by that is, John Thompson, senior coach there, then his son coached there. Then, what? Hey, Patrick Ewing is a legacy guy. He coaches there. The same thing, which I think Temple's trying to emulate as well with Aaron McKee, one of those guys that, hey, he's been around here. He's done that. He's lived it. So when you recruit a kid, hey, kid, I've been here. I did it here.
In the last 50 years, there's no team in America that's better coaches than Georgetown. Thompson is one of the best coaches in the history of the country. And then his son was very good, and then Ewing. So good stuff. Good for Georgetown.
Yep. Let's keep rolling here, Jeff. Out west. Now, kudos to whoever sent this game into us, Jeff. Right in your wheelhouse. 863-864. Seattle. Not the Seahawks, not the Supersonics, but Seattle versus Grand Canyon, Jeff. 6.5 number favored for Grand Canyon. A total of 133.5.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody sent this in as a DM, and they said, this is a game right in your wheelhouse. I said, it actually is. Donnie, actually, weirdly enough, the WAC played back-to-backs this year, right?
Yes.
I think it was Friday night, Saturday night. That was the schedule.
Yes.
And the second time these two teams played, I actually had Grand Canyon. I laid, I think it was 4. They won the game by 10. Donnie, I've been covering something weird with Grand Canyon this year.
Yeah.
In WAC games, in the first of a back-to-back, in 6 matchups this year. So they played, I think it was 8 matchups, 4 different teams. What do you think their record against the spread was in the first game of a back-to-back?
The first game of a back-to-back, under 500?
They didn't cover 1 game.
Wow.
Back-to-back.
Whoa.
Now,
Whoa.
This is interesting because this is not the first. It is the first game that they played per se, but it's actually the third game they played against Seattle. So I'm kind of fascinated to see how they deal with that. I don't think it'll be a big deal because they've seen Seattle twice. Here's the skinny on Seattle. Very 3-point dependent. I think they're top 50 in point distribution from the 3-point line. Very dependent on the 3. That's a tough lane here because Grand Canyon is very good. They're an elite 3-point defense. And in fact, an elite defense. Donnie, they have 2 7-footers, Midgard and Lever. They're just gigantic, big team. Bryce Drew has done a very good job with this team. That's why they're the favorite in the WAC. I don't I worry about that first game of the back-to-back, but it's not a back-to-back, though it is, but it's not really, and it's the third game they played Seattle. I think they know this team pretty well. I'm leaning Canyon. I think they're better. I think the game's kind of similar to the second game they played, 81-71, where they kind of pull away and win by margin. It's not a great number, though. If this were 5.5, it would probably be a high-level best bet for me. But 7's tough, man. That's a lot of points late in a game where you have to kind of win by double digits to feel comfortable with it. I lean Grand Canyon here, though. I think it's a pretty good bet. They know Seattle pretty well.
We're going to get to the last game of the 4-pack here on the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and the FanDuel Sportsbooks. I want to ask you a quick question, Jeff.
Yeah.
James Ross writes, obviously, we know the news. Virginia's out. Georgia Tech moves on. Does Georgia Tech, in the eyes of the committee or computers or whatever, it's not a true win, but you would, hey, well, Georgia Tech got to the championship game in the ACC for seeding purposes. If you're on the I wouldn't look at it like that way, but you can't deny technicality. They did make it to the ACC title game, right?
Yeah.
How would you view that?
I don't know how they're going to handle that. That's a good question. I would imagine, they'll take that into some account. They're going to have to take it into some account. But yeah, I never really thought of that. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, to see how it moves forward. I don't think it'll I still think they'll get in, but maybe it bumps them up another line and helps them out because, hey, we made it to the ACC title game. And by the way, you get a nice win or a nice move on because you're probably going to lose to Virginia. Anything could happen in an ACC title game. You pull down that automatic bid by winning the conference. Now you really bolstered yourself up heading into the tournament.
It's pretty incredible. Even in college football and in college basketball, I would probably put into the double digits how many games I've bet on that have been canceled. There's 357 teams in America. I have one future, and I just happen to have one of the what? That's such brutal luck, man.
Early on last year, Jeff, I bet a MAC basketball game that was canceled in COVID before we really knew what it was. Yeah. And then a couple weeks later, obviously everything went down. But when we said, a kid might have it on campus, they shut the entire campus down. I believe it was a Bowling Green game last year, which is an interesting one. There's a video that I have that I actually put out a play on the game. And I said, you got to be kidding me. This is canceled by a virus. Well, little did we know it was going to take place. Go ahead.
When I was at Barstool, I did a best bet of the week with college football. There were 3 straight weeks, Donnie. I would write an article the night before and post it the morning of. An hour later, it was canceled.
All that hard work. That hard work. Yeah, so interesting stuff. Back to the Big East, Jeff. 8:49, 8:50, 9 o'clock, center stage at the Garden, Connecticut and Creighton. Great game here, Jeff. And look at the line. -1 is a short favorite for Creighton, over under 44.5. Here come those Uconn Huskies. What a great game at 9 o'clock. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, before we got on the air, Donnie, I checked the line. This was a pick 'em. Okay, it's now up to 1. Book night, I'm concerned about. I don't know if he's going to play today.
Oh, what happened? Give the people the news.
He limped off the court last night, from what I saw. That's huge. And for Creighton, you talk about good luck. If he doesn't play, That's huge. I think if you're a book night, you try to play, but I'll tell you, the line's starting to tell me, hey, maybe he's not going to play because early bettors are coming in maybe, and they know something we don't. I mean, it's still fairly early, Donnie. The betting public's not, I don't think, hit these games.
And you're right, Jeff, because it's not going the way you thought it would be, because Uconn is the hot team and the healthy team, and they've been just destruction and terror down the stretch. To have all of a sudden a game, Jeff, where they won by 34 points, the public's usually all over that team.
Sometimes you have to look at games, Donnie, and just say, and we did it earlier with you mentioned with Seton Hall, Georgetown, that you think Seton Hall is just a better team, which I can agree with. But when I look at Creighton, Uconn, I like Uconn a lot, but I do think Creighton is just a better team than they are. Like by a little bit, it's not a lot. But the Creighton has the angle this year defensively. They are really solid on that end. I've been impressed with what they've been able to do, and I think there's a bit of a chip on that group's shoulders. Zegarowski is the best player in his conference. With the book night concerns, I don't know if he's fully healthy. I didn't think he was fully healthy even coming into the tournament. He didn't look fully himself. I think if you can get Creighton at a pick-em-ish type number, I like this play.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because FanDuel Sportsbooks give you some, in the bigger games, which this is going to be one. Now, we do the show early in the morning, so we miss out on some opportunities to bet some certain ways because, obviously, we do the show at 9 a.m. and the game's going to start at 9 o'clock tonight. But this is one of those fun games, Jeff, that if Zegarowski obviously is playing in this game, you think they're going to get some tempo and pace there. You could bet his total over, like 13.5 points, 14.5 points, assists. I know I bet one last week where he had an assist number of around 3.5 and 4.5 in the following game. So there's some fun ways to bet those that most people don't really know about that you can bet in college basketball, but the big games in the tournament all have player props now, so a fun one to pick out. Pace-wise in this game, Jeff, as we see the 144, and again, it's hard to ask you in the morning because we could get a press release that book night's ready to go and it was no big deal at all. He's in the starting lineup, or we get the dreaded, hey, he's sitting on the sideline during like the layup line, and those are the ones like, oh, here we go again.
I think sometimes you have to just assume and trust what you're doing
or what you saw.
From what I saw, he could barely walk.
Ooh.
So I'm going to cap this with the thought that he's not playing. But I will say this: if he was playing, I would still lean Creighton. I think they can get the job done. I've said before, I think the kid on the perimeter is one of the best shooters in the country. I mean, he is really incredible. But yeah, I'm going to assume he doesn't play.
Talking about these lines, getting down, seeing what you can do. Well, there is no better place to get down with these lines than the FanDuel Sportsbook and also the new FanDuel Sportsbook customers. If you haven't got done yet, if you haven't signed up, good news for you. A $1,000 risk-free bet when you sign up today. You can use it on any college basketball game or futures market throughout the month of March, including this week's conference tournament. Signing up, use that link below, claim it now. Customers must be at least 21 years old and present in one of the legal online betting states: New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, Virginia, Tennessee, West Virginia, and also Iowa. See full terms at the FanDuel Sportsbook website. And please remember, as always, Jeff, bet responsibly. Look at all these games on the board, Jeff. You don't have to get down on Maryland, Michigan at 11:30 a.m. Wait, pick your spots. Maybe like Ohio and Toledo in the afternoon, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, again, I always say this. If you have an edge, you enjoy what you're looking at, you like what you see, bet it. You don't have an edge, you don't have to bet. Weirdly enough, Donnie, this is kind of random, but Periscope is going away. The app is being taken off.
When is it taken down, by the way?
I think the end of the month. Yeah. So I hadn't been on Periscope in a while. I went on quickly last night, and so there was a game late night, and someone came in. What do you think of this game? I said, I don't have an opinion. Skip it. Move to the next game. And just because the game's on, you don't need to bet it. It's the old Hawaii theory. I got to bet this game because it's on. Throw your questions in the chat now, Donnie. I'm
actually going to go now, Jeff. I want to give out my plays just so, we can have, an opportunity at the end. We don't have to rush our picks there. and early game action. You can do yours the same. I'm going to actually, you know me, I'm a team total over guy. There's a lot of games on the board that don't have a team total, but hey, I'm coming prepared, Jeff. You said last night, Donnie, come with a play tomorrow, even if we don't have any team totals up, which you can follow me on Twitter, follow Jeff on Twitter. We update stuff throughout the day. I'm actually going to take an under here, right at noon in the SEC, Jeff, and that is rotation 827, 828, Mississippi State and Alabama. The over-under sitting now at FanDuel at 141. I'm going to take that under. Favorite from Alabama -8. I do think Alabama wins this game. Wait a second, Donnie. You ever see Alabama play on offense, shooting threes, getting up and down the court? I understand that. They play with a lot of tempo, but you're going to get the counter of that from Mississippi State. If I'm Mississippi State, Jeff, I'm not saying I'm coming into this game going, you know what? Great idea. Let's run with Alabama and see what happens. They are going to try to slow this down to a snail's pace, but also some things, if you don't watch a lot of SEC basketball, yes, Alabama is extremely talented. Alabama wants tempo, Jeff, but you know what Alabama brings to the table? A lot of defense as well, and so does Mississippi State. Number 1 in the conference in defense, Alabama in efficiency. Number 4, Mississippi State. I think this game slows down, and why I like it also, look at the 3-point numbers here. Defense from Alabama. In conference play, number 1, 25% they allow from 3-point range. Flip it over to Mississippi State, 31%, because you're trying to counteract that Alabama 3-point shot game, which they are number 1 in the conference at around 38%. It's a noon start. It's conference tournament play. I need them to grind a little bit, and it's against the grain for me, Jeff, but I am going with an Alabama-Mississippi State under 141 right at noon, brother. What are you looking at today?
That is really, really gutsy by you. And
it is.
I'm going to give you some, do it up, man. I mean, you like it, run with it. I didn't exactly kill it yesterday, so maybe my opinion on that game doesn't mean too much. Donnie, there is some concerning things going on, but again, I don't think they're real concerned because they won the game last night. But something happened to point guard from La Tech, Kobe Williams. Donnie, get this. Had an injury last night. Well, not last night, but in one of the final games of the season for Louisiana Tech, Kobe Williams. They played Our Lady of the Lake, Don.
Yes. That's a familiar team down there where people were just trying to pad stats against over the past couple of months here with some of the big boys. Yeah.
Donnie, I mean, last game of the year, you schedule a game. Houston did it, if we remember.
Yes, they did.
By the way, Our Lady of the Lake sounds like a horror movie, doesn't it? But so they get this kid, and he gets injured. He gets a hand injury against Our Lady of the Lake. He's out. So he's not going to play in the conference tournament. Imagine that happening. It wasn't against
for the kid, forget the program. The kid, I'm ready to go try to make some hay here, and I got injured against Our Lady of the Lake, not in a conference tournament game, not in March Madness. I can't even participate because of is the Lake Division 2? Who are they? They're not
I think they're NAI.
NAI, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, really, really tough. But that's a brutal loss to lose him because he's your point guard, and you want your point guard in there. But I will give them credit. I mean, nice win last night. Florida Atlantic was kind of a tough out. Keep in mind with Florida Atlantic, did have some personnel problems, didn't have kind of the right legs, but they were able to kind of play. It didn't cover though, La Tech. It was 7.5. They only won by 6. Donnie, I'm gonna take North Texas today. I think this is just a simple case of I think Grant McCasland and North Texas are the better team. I think offensively they are a little bit more dynamic. I know defensively I'm always going to get a really good outing from that team. They play a really good brand of defense. And when I look at La Tech, I wonder, is this the game where losing Kobe Williams hurts? Kobe Williams is kind of the architect of that offense. He's a guy that when you lose your point guard, it's difficult. You have guys that can kind of pick up the slack, but it doesn't always hit you in the first game. It's always maybe in the second game where you kind of have to realize, okay, we're facing a better basketball team that has some more ability than the team we played. I thought they struggled a little bit last night at times against Florida Atlantic. North Texas is not a team you can trifle with. They're very good. Javion Hamlin, Zach Simmons. This is a good team. I'm going to trust that McCaslin's team is just better than La Tech. I'll fade Louisiana Tech without Kobe Williams. I'm going to take North Texas plus 1.5 against La Tech in the Conference USA tournament.
There you go, Jeff. And by the way, look at this. Look, you guys are bringing the heat, and we really appreciate it. 42 thumbs up. Get this, Jeff. Look, it's a new channel that me and Jeff are new to here, so sometimes you don't know where to find it or watch it throughout the rest of the day. Even if you are watching, thank you for the thumbs up. But over 200 people currently watching live right now, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It's slowly growing, and we're going to be here through all the tournament games. Don't you worry about it, right up to the Final Four and the championship game. But we wanted to say thank you guys for helping us build this, pumping it up, coming in the chat box, having a lot of fun with us. Me and Jeff love to rant. You guys obviously appreciate that, but we also get back to business, picking some games and breaking it all down, Jeff. It's nice to see the show growing, Jeff.
Yes, it is. And it's only the first couple of days. So very happy that we're able to do this. Also, a couple of questions. We will have shows on Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So we'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here on Sunday. Donnie, here's what we're going to do. Okay.
Go.
Ultimately my show. It's
okay. Well, I can leave now.
Well, no. It's the Who's Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu. Here's what we're going to do. 10 minutes. We're going to do 10 minutes. Donnie, I want you to fire games out. Let's see how we can help the people here.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to go right to the chat box, and we're going to hit these games as they come through, Jeff. Somebody was asking here, and it was a good question also. It was UNC and FSU. I can't find it, but I'm going to summarize what it said in the chat box. Does Florida State get hurt, Jeff, because of a triple bye? UNC has played already, or is the theory rested and ready? To me, I'm going to give my opinion. I actually think North Carolina has the bonus here because Florida State has not played in the building, is not in rhythm. UNC is playing well. I think that's an advantage for North Carolina. How do you think that goes?
Yeah, and I don't think Florida State's played particularly well coming into this tournament, losing 2 or 3. Look, I'm going to keep saying, man, they don't have a point guard. They don't. They don't have anyone on the court that can handle the ball and be a Colin Gillespie type player where he runs the show for that team. Mm-hmm. It's starting to hurt, and good coaches are able to figure that out. I think UNC is a team that can match them with the height. They're big, they're gigantic, but UNC is pretty good as well. I mean, they can slam the boards also. I think it makes sense what you're saying. They have played 2 games, maybe a little tired, but when you get into these tournaments, I don't really too much about tired legs. I mean, these are young kids. They're going to be fine with that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it helps UNC for sure.
All right, let's keep firing off. Roy Hearn and also my man MMA Locker Room, they want to know about Akron +4, which obviously is the Akron-Buffalo game, Jeff. I know you're on Buffalo. You got that one right yesterday. They covered their number yesterday. Didn't look all that good, but Buffalo's a good team, closed strong. Let's take a look at them today really quick. Akron and Buffalo opened up at -3.5 at FanDuel, Jeff. Now up to -4 and a nice over-under. You always see this with Buffalo games. 152.5. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, these teams played just a couple of days ago, back on March 2nd, but Buffalo got the job done 80-78. And when you look at what was the difference in the basketball game, Donnie, we've heard this all before, rebounding. Buffalo had 17 offensive rebounds. Akron had 14. Couple of possessions were the difference in the game. This is a Buffalo team that finds a way because they can rebound the basketball. They're gigantic, and they just go up and get the ball. They grab the basketball. I love that. But, here's the problem for Akron, or for people that want to fade Akron. They got a kid, Lauren Christian Jackson. He's one of the best players in this conference.
Yes.
If you're going to give me 3.5 in this game, 4, I'm going to lean on a close game here. That would just be my thought. The first game, as I said, close. It was a high-scoring, fun matchup. I think it's another big-time MAC matchup. I'll believe in Lauren Christian Jackson as being the best player on the court. Something just tells me this game is a final possession, 2-possession type of game. 4 came across a bit high to me.
All right, and we'll keep moving here. Fairfield, St. Peter's. We can't bet this game with FanDuel because it is a New Jersey game. But just quick thoughts for fun purposes, Jeff. St. Peter's -6.5 and 120.5. St. Peter's get the job done with Sheen Holloway today, or is it going to be a close fight with Fairfield?
Well, let me ask you. I don't know how much you've seen of St. Peter's this year, but
not much.
Look, I have no real interest in betting. I love them defensively, but they're just so poor offensively. They can't score. I mean, I lean under. This is probably first 55 wins.
All right, how about this one, Jeff?
Yeah, Fairfield's
Yeah,
gonna have a
no,
lot.
you never. The MAC is a very hard tournament here because you're getting elevated scores. You got Iona coming back into play, but it's ugly basketball. And Jeff used to always ride me on some of these lower conferences because it is true. You just don't get the finishes, right? Like the guys just aren't as talented getting to the hoop and making layups. And I hear you on that one.
Southern against Grambling. I was watching that game. Southern's down 3, Don, with 10 seconds to go. They're like screwing around with the ball. They end up having a backcourt violation. Don't even get a shot up. Who asked about this game, by the way? Can you?
I don't know. Somebody there must be a plant in there.
This
that
is
really
like
has that,
if you asked about this game, there's a lot of games in a card.
You degenerate, you.
Look elsewhere. No, it's not even that. It's just a bad. Like it's.
That's funny. It's not an exciting matchup here. Ohio Toledo, Jeff. Somebody's asking about here in the MAC, and look at this line movement here. FanDuel opened up as a -4-point favorite to Toledo. Ohio now closed that gap -2.5. And how about this over/under from the MAC, Jeff? A 156. What are you thinking quickly here on Ohio Toledo?
Toledo, one of the best teams in the country against the spread. Yeah. I think Ohio, the Magic runs out today. That was a nice win yesterday, but Kent State's been dealing. Mike Nuga's been out for them. They're not really the same team. I think Toledo is legit, man. I mean, that's been pretty evident all year. Marion Jackson's really terrific, and Kowalczyk's a great coach. They can really kill you offensively. And Donnie, what did we say about Ohio? Can't defend. They're just really poor defensively. Yeah. I worry about that. I think Toledo gets the job done today.
How about this one, Jeff? Last game here at noon. And look, these people know you very well. Sean Smith says Western Kentucky money line. If we're taking a look at UAB Western Kentucky, opened up at 1.5 as a favorite to Western Kentucky, now to 2.5. So the bettors are going that way. Over under 134. UAB Western Kentucky, thoughts?
Yeah, I wouldn't go too crazy. West Kentucky, again, they fall flat when it matters most a lot of the time. I do think this is the year where they finally probably get into the tournament, though. I worry about UAB offensively. All year they've just had trouble scoring a basketball. And, West Kentucky has shown that they're a pretty damn good defensive team. I was impressed with UAB towards the end of the season. They got kind of a layup against Rice, who beat Marshall. Kind of got lucky there. I think they would have ultimately probably lost to Marshall. If you're telling me you like the money line for West Kentucky, I won't talk you out of it. I don't think there's anyone in UAB that could stop Charles Bassey. I think it's going to be open season for him today. This one seemed a little short to me.
Hour goes so fast here on the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and FanDuel Sportsbook. Jeff, what do you say we go over a recap here of our best bets, close it down, have some fun, but keep in mind as well, the show doesn't end just because the live portion of it is not here. If you have any questions or comments throughout the day, an entire card, leave them in the comments section. Jeff will be perusing by. If you have a question late, some interesting information comes out. Hey, Jeff, what are your thoughts on LSU, Mississippi at 9:30 tonight? Jeff will be in there answering it. So go ahead and let it fire away. We'll be around on Twitter all day. Just to recap here, my best bet here early on, stepping out of the box and taking an under with the Alabama-Mississippi State game at 141, sitting on the under at FanDuel. That's what I'm going with, Jeff. Your best bets today. Recap. What you got, player?
Yeah, I'm going North Texas plus 1.5 against La Tech. Okay. I think this is where the injury to Kobe Williams really gets to them a little bit. North Texas is legit. They could represent the CUSA in the tournament.
Fantastic stuff as the hour rolls on. And as always, we end it. Big man, leave us with something. Tell us what the news is.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. As always,
best show.
If you ever have a comment or question, please reach out to me. Comment on the video. We'll get to it for sure. We're here every day, 9 a.m. Eastern. Make sure if you're new around here, you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, going over another day of college hoops. Thanks for watching. This has been the BMOC. The Hoops Betting Hour with Big Man on Campus and Donnie Wright said. Have a great Friday, everybody.